wherever you're joining me from. Now, we have had people literally from all over the world, from Australia, from New Zealand, England, Romania, North America, the US, and Canada. Other countries too, I'm sure. So wherever you are tuning in from, I just want to welcome you. And if you're new to this live stream, my name is Tomás, and I have been a student and a teacher of A Course in Miracles for about the last 8 years. So what we're doing on this live stream is we're talking specifically about the spiritual text called A Course in Miracles, which in fact has three distinct, and of course they're all interrelated, component parts. One of them is what's known as the workbook for students, and that is what we're going through here on this live stream. Now, I do have guests periodically talking about their own experiences with this wonderful, wonderful, and for me, a deeply transformative spiritual text. So you may be wondering, why should I tune into this live stream? Well, A Course in Miracles is universal in theme and application. That's it. Universal. It's universal. That means that whatever your practice is, there is something of great value for you right here. What is that for you? Well, I don't know. You'll have to tune in to find out. But it is universal in theme and application. We're talking about universal spirituality, principles and practices that apply no matter what your religious background is, no matter what your spiritual background or tradition is, no matter what form your spiritual practice may take. Whatever that is, there is something of great value for you here. You don't even have to own the course book to get tremendous value from these lessons. So I thank you so much for tuning in, for all of your comments, all of the likes, all of the hearts, all of the shares. Thank you very much. And this is really, really a lot of fun. If you're just joining in, I do look at the comments a little bit later on this live stream. Usually it's only about 20 minutes or so in length. So with that being the case, let me start in today on the workbook for students, lesson 47. Now, lesson 46 had to do with forgiveness, and we spent a couple of days on it. Now, I will do that from time to time. I have never gone straight through the workbook, lesson 1 through 365, without either skipping a day or spending more than one day on a lesson, because I wanted to do that. Often I feel that there's so much there for me at this particular point in life, and you may have felt the same thing, where it's perfectly okay to spend 2, 3, 4, or even more days on a certain workbook, assignment, exercise. It's really beneficial to do that sometimes. So today we're moving on to lesson 47. God is the strength in which I trust. I have a lot to say about this. God is the strength in which I trust. Now, as you read the commentary for today's lesson, there's all kinds of things here. And we'll talk about them. Let's talk about them right now. In the world, we are taught to be rugged individualists, aren't we? And this is not just men, this is women too. These are all people, no matter what society you're in. The world wants us to look out for number one, number one being ourselves. And we have fashioned economic systems that have us looking out for ourselves, that glorify competition, that pit us against someone else who's going to steal, take your precious resources, money, time, food, water, you name it, your personal space, your sonic space. We set ourselves up to compete with one another. And as you have heard from following along with this workbook, as you've read and hopefully experienced, We did this to ourselves. This means we can undo it. If you get nothing else out of watching this live stream, I want you very much, want you to feel your own power, to, even if it's just for a moment, stand in your true authority, the authority of God. Even if it's just for a moment, it will change your life immeasurably. Just know that. You may have had this experience once. You may have had this many times over. So I hope you have it again. Hopefully today. And if not today, then real soon. Okay. The fact that you're watching this and paying attention means it's coming. And you should be very happy. I hope you are about that. Now, we're taught to trust our own strength in the world. And what does that do for us, right? We don't really know what's going on, do we? We can spend all of our time trying to plan for certain contingencies, right? We buy insurance in the world to plan against maybe a physical ailment, an illness, our own death, an auto accident. I mean, think about what insurance really is. And if you're in the insurance business, well, I mean, you know what it is, right? So let's look at it from a spiritual standpoint. I mean, people are afraid. We're set up to be afraid of what may be coming in the future. And we take our awareness, we take our energy, our hearts, our minds out of the present moment and into some future date. Yeah, we're supposed to, in the world, trust our own strength. And again, you don't have to be a man. Women are taught the same thing by society, right? Trust your own strength. So where does that lead us? Because we don't know all ends. If we identify with the ego and try to do things on our own, what happens? Well, war on a large scale, right? Genocide on a large scale. On an individual scale, we're confused, stressed. It is a tremendous, tremendous expense of energy to try to control the world. We cannot do it. Do you know any control freaks in your life? I'll just say it, control freaks in your life. Do you know any people that try to orchestrate and manipulate other people's thoughts, their actions to conform with what they think is going to make them safe? Does it make that person safe? No, no, it does not. It makes them an anxious, nervous wreck. Now, maybe you are feeling like an anxious, nervous wreck. And if you are, okay, it is what it is. That's okay, right? It's okay because we have the ability to change our entire experience right now in the present moment. And if you get nothing else out of watching this programming on the entire network, know your own power and just know it's there ready for you to claim it when you are ready and willing to do so. And I hope that may be right now. I really do. Everything in this world fluctuates. That's why no matter how much effort we expend in trying to control everything, that we cannot do it. People seem to be acting of their own accord and they don't care what we want to orchestrate, do they? They do their own thing because they're thinking the same thing. They're thinking me, 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 me. You're thinking me, 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 me. And what happens when those two clash? You have conflict. I mean, if you happen to be on the same page with somebody and everything synchronizes, great. But we see the opposite in the world all the time because we're all running around in our separate compartments, which are all of our own making and not reality in any way, shape, or form. In fact, reality is formless anyway. We'll get there. So controlling, we find, is really utterly useless And what does it do? It tires us out. We get exhausted. We expend all of our energy trying to orchestrate a future that, when it arrives, stresses us out, and we do the same thing all over again. I mean, satisfaction, yes, can be had in the world. I mean, we can have a satisfactory relationship. We can have a beautiful walk. We could have hot sex with somebody. We could have a beautiful meal. Right? We could have a loving relationship. We could exchange a hug with one another. But as long as we're identifying with the ego, the separate sense of self, we're going to fall back into habitual patterns of fear. They'll take the form of depression, maybe, of anxiety, stress. Yeah, it's just the way the world operates. Now, you probably know and feel deep in your heart that this is not the way it has to be. And you would be 100% correct. This is not the way it has to be. Here's what you do. Get out of our own way. Now, what do I mean by that? It means you give up trying to orchestrate and manipulate and control everything around you, and you'll let go of that. That is not something the ego likes to do. That's why people say that it's hard. You may feel like that's a difficult thing to do. And if you do, that's quite all right. Yeah. Everybody arrives at these types of teachings with their own experience and their own proclivities, their own habits. So that means each of us will have certain, well, you can call them challenges along the way, where the ego will be resistant to the truth. And it happens. I mean, it just happens. So if you're experiencing extreme resistance, that's quite normal, actually. The ego resists being utterly dismissed, walked away from, have the light shone on it. Yeah, of course, it resists that. So, God is our safety. Right? This is what happens when you get out of our own way. You've heard the phrase, possibly, let go and let God. Well, it's not just something that you see on a bumper sticker. It's not just something that you might hear on a spiritual themed broadcast. Yeah, it's more than that. It's recognizing that of ourselves, we don't know what to do. It's moving away from the ego that tells us that, yeah, we got this, let's control everything outside of us. Well, reality is not outside of us, it's inside of us. So what we do is we step aside. Can you guarantee, with all of your control mechanisms and behaviors and manipulations, that everything's going to have a satisfactory outcome for all people, and everyone is going to walk away from a situation feeling whole and uplifted and powerful? Can you guarantee this? No, we cannot guarantee that. So we turn it over to the Holy Spirit. This is the voice for God that Lesson 47 and A Course in Miracles talks about. Now, if you are not following the Course in particular, turn it over to your guides, right? Yeah, same thing. Turn it over to your guides. Turn it over to your higher self. Turn it over to knowledge, right? A source of being that knows what to do and will tell you that if you only allow it, allow it. There's so much to allowing in spirituality, so much to that. We surrender our ego. This is what it means to surrender, to get out of our own way. We invite the Holy Spirit, we invite God, we invite our guides, whomever, whatever that looks like for you, to run the show and to instruct us and to tell us what to do and what to say and to whom in every circumstance. It works. What happens when we do that? We feel a synchronicity and flow, and we are love. We are the presence, the experience of love that radiates outward. It extends itself, just as God extended himself. And if you prefer herself, itself, right? God extends, love extends itself. It knows only itself and extends itself. We have simply to make a choice to get out of our own way. The ego does not want us to make this choice. Now, I'll tell you what, when we get out of our own way, and Workbook Lesson 47 tells us this, peace and certainty, confidence, it is our birthright. You are entitled to peace. I'm not talking an entitlement of money or of service from a human or something like that. We're not talking about someone feeling entitled because they were, they were raised in a certain economic status with things handed to them. Now, that's kind of a different worldly form of entitlement. But I mean, entitled to peace means this is who you are. This is your birthright. Will you claim it right now? Will you claim this right now? And I hope that the answer may be a resounding and unequivocal yes, I will claim my birthright right now. God is the strength in which I trust. All right, so let's see who's joining me here on the comments today. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. And I welcome all of you, wherever you're from. Let's bring up the live stream here. We've got a few people that have joined us today. So I want to say hello to all of you. Isabel and Christina, hi. And Robert, hi guys, how are you? Good evening. Yeah, good evening from Romania. And here, Robert, in Arizona, in the western part of the United States, it's 9:21 in the morning. Yeah, so thank you for joining us. Now, this is really so much fun for me to be able to interact live with all of you. So if you have questions or you have particular comments, whether it's about today's lesson or today's idea or not, feel welcome to drop those in here. And if you're watching the replay, please feel free to leave a comment and feel free to share this. If this content is something that you feel your friends, your family, people that you know would benefit from, definitely please feel free to share that. And thank you for all of you, to all of you who have done that in the past. It's really quite wonderful for the network itself to reach out, because that's what we're here to do. Love extends itself. And as the embodiment of love, as a teacher of love, I aim to extend that as far as I possibly can. And what that requires is all of us to do the same thing. It is a community effort, and I really love that. And in fact, this goes perfectly with A Course in Miracles that insists, quite rightly, that minds are all joined. Really, it seems like we're running around having a separate experience, but in truth, we're not. We're not. Yeah, and Isabel comments, it feels so good when we allow ourselves to go and stay up there with God's energy, which is inside of us. Doesn't it feel good? It feels great. Have you ever had the experience where you're in the flow? I like to call it the flow. In fact, my very good friend, Lisa Berry and GP Walsh have a show called The Flow of Enlightenment. It's on Om Times Radio. Now, I will say, I'm going to give these guys some props and a shout out here. Check out their programming here, because they're both on Enlightened World Network as well. Lisa is the host of Dating Your Diet on EWN Enlightened Living. And GP Walsh is a fantastic spiritual teacher. And the network EWN streams his satsang with G every Sunday at 3 Eastern in North America. So check that out. That is a teaching and live question and answer session. A very, very great teacher. So yeah, I'm giving them a shout out because they're friends of mine, of course, and they're here on the network. It's great programming. So please check that out right here on EWN. And the flow. And this is what we're in, you know, it's a flow. When we allow ourselves to go with God's will, we discover, and the course confirms this for us, it is our will too. It's our own. Yeah, it's our own. And getting out of your own way is, I can tell you how it feels for me. It may feel slightly differently for you, but my experience is that it's powerful, and it is wonderful to be able to stand in crystal clear certainty that no matter what I say or do, or however I interact with somebody, when I'm out of my own way, everyone is going to benefit. Everyone is going to feel love. And it is just coming through me. It's not, it's coming through me. As teachers in this world, we're conduits for divine love. Now we come to realize that actually is us. Not only is it inside us, it is us. Now, very cool. I love this comment. Thank you so much, Isabel. Yeah. Well, I think let's leave it at that. We're going to continue here this weekend in the workbook with lessons 48 tomorrow, lesson 49, lesson 50, and we'll have at least one special guest on tap for you next week. So I'll announce those details in a little while here in the next couple days. But let's just continue with the workbook ideas. And I thank you so much for tuning in wherever you are joining me from. And hello, Tara. I don't know if it's Tara or Tara, but thank you for joining in and watching. Wherever you all are joining us from, I thank you for tuning in. And reminder, this is a daily live stream. Please check Enlightened World Network's Facebook page for the daily show guide, and that will tell you what time the shows air. Now, tomorrow it's at a different time, as the time does bounce around. So I'm going to be live tomorrow at 2 o'clock Eastern time. So in international time, 14 hours Eastern time, New York in North America. So check the show guide every day for those details. And I will see you here again tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining.